Hi, everybody. We've got Malachi with us today, and he's going to give us some personal testimony, this time to do with his education and later on, more recently, his employment. So great to see you, Malachi.
Thank you.
I've heard something of your story already, but looking forward to hearing more of it today. Tell us, first of all, you didn't have an easy time at school and in your education in your younger years. What was that about, and why was that?
Yeah, I've really struggled in going back to primary school. It kind of came to light then that I was, I seemed behind my peers. I wasn't as academically gifted as someone like my sister, for example, who was in the family. So it came to light through certain reports that I was struggling. I was behind. Going into secondary school, it really showed up then amongst my peers. And in year 7, they placed me in what they called then special needs. They have different names for it now, but
Yeah.
I put in the special needs class for most classes, English and maths, sciences, and that was the environment that I was in for a large part of secondary school. I just became to assume that I wasn't clever. That so I focused therefore on sports, and that became a way that
Yeah.
I would get kind of respect from my peers, and people would say
Yeah.
you're good at this. So I'd be excited for the school bell to go. I'd be sat in class just kind of looking out the window and just thinking, what can I do that somebody's going to encourage me at, because I'm clearly not particularly good at anything academically. And then my dad kind of got involved a bit and realized that in this class that I was in, I didn't seem to be making any progress. So
Yeah.
a mixture of me looking at my sister, who was looking at universities, and looking up to her and thinking, what's gone wrong with me? Somewhere at that age in my subconscious, I was considering all this. My dad spoke to the school, and they took me out of special needs in a few classes, and I just started to really flourish. I had an English teacher that was really encouraging and believed in me. My writing
Great.
kind of come on, but it all kind of came a little bit too late. That was at the end of year 9, and GCSEs were starting. And
Yeah.
to cut a long story short, with that, I left school without a lot of GCSEs. I think I had about 4. I'd failed maths. I specifically remember looking out the window during my maths GCSE and just not understanding what was on the paper. It was like a language I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I was just behind. I had a lot of bad experiences of kind of the old school maths teacher putting me down and putting people down. So my whole experience of school was fairly negative academically. I wasn't really unhappy, but it was a negative academic experience. So I just thought, I'm not cut out for this. I'll pursue some kind of practical career. And I went on to college and thought, maybe I'll be a chef. I'll work in restaurants, and I did, and I didn't mind it. But that's where I left academia. Really. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it that turned things around? Because I'm aware that things aren't like that now. How did that turn around, and what was the result of that turning around?
I think some of it, looking at my family, some of it, my sister has flourished academically, and she went to York University. She got a great degree in history. She then went and did a law degree, and she's a lawyer. And I didn't, but my dad is very practical. So I was kind of conflicted. My mum's a head teacher. There's kind of bits of both in my family and I was realizing maybe there isn't a clear dichotomy between the two. And my dad, although he couldn't read or write particularly well, he still can't write particularly well. He's always been really what I would consider a different type of intelligence. That we'd always have an open house with lots of deep conversations about religion and politics. So it wasn't conventional intelligence, but I was from a family that had open discussions. It just started to challenge me a little bit. I got to 18, I think it was 19, and I thought, I was working in a kitchen, and I thought, I feel like I've got more to offer, and I enjoy seeking knowledge. I enjoy teaching, discussions and stuff. So maybe I'll go back to college. And I did. I went back to college. I did well. I got onto a degree course by retaking A levels. I studied psychology in Sheffield, and I didn't really. I didn't really give my heart and soul to that degree at that stage, but I was making up ground on my peers, if you know what I mean. I was still even then at the age of 20 behind where other people were at, because I'd missed what I consider large chunks of time in school. So I gained a 2-1, which was great. The whole family was so pleased from where I was, special needs, to go and get a 2-1, a university degree, which was good in Sheffield. But then I really flourished when I took on a master's degree. I thought I really enjoy psychology. I was working in the field of psychology at that point, volunteering. For anyone who hears my testimony at any point, you'll hear about that. I was working with people with severe mental health problems, doing some research, and I just flourished. I treated it like a full-time job, the master's. I'd go into the library each day. I read a lot of literature, and I just kind of caught up then, and I was kind of on a trajectory. And at the end of that master's, I gained a distinction, one of the top grades that the university had ever got in that department. I got 90% on my thesis, my research, and was invited back for a kind of special meeting, award thing, and yeah, it was good, and that's where I was at then. But I still had although I had a distinction in psychology, I still hadn't got my maths GCSE, which was kind of amazing. It was but it was also, to be honest, it was a point of difficulty in my own mind, because that was, I felt what's the word? I felt quite vulnerable and insecure about that. So that kind of led me up to recent times, about 2 years ago, where I went on to get my look to do my PGCE. I had to retake my maths, and I did, and I passed it. And I've said to other people that was a bigger achievement to me to pass that than
I get that.
than the masters or anything else. So
what that represented for you.
So that brought me up to my my PGCE currently, which I just undertook.
Yes. And then more recently, the Lord has blessed you with some employment. So what is it that you're doing now then, and how are you finding that?
It's great, yeah. So I work in a sixth form college. So after my masters, and after that happened, I undertook my PGCE. I felt like God say to me at that time that he used the word head and shoulders, and it wasn't anything to do with dandruff, I don't think, but it was what I interpreted as that he's going to set me head and shoulders above my peers, and that happened throughout last year when I did my PGC training. I excelled, and I got another distinction in my PGCE. So backed it up from a master's, and God was always putting me in places where I knew that it wasn't about me. I couldn't stand here today and say that it's my cleverness or it was my intelligence, because it's not, because I was in special needs, and I couldn't even get a grade on my maths GCSE, so it wasn't about me. And I got offered a job within a couple of months of doing that PGCE. I felt like God said that wasn't the position for me, and that I should wait. And his word to me then was, I'm opening a door for you. So just before lockdown, I had an interview for a job at Carmel College in St. Helens, and this is one of the top colleges in the country. It's in the top 10 for results and progress in the country. And I just felt like God's confidence going into it, that he said that he's opened the door for me. If he can bring me from special needs to masters of PGC with distinction, then he can do this for me. He can get me in this place. And the interview went brilliantly, and they offered me a job, and I've just loved it. I've been there for 8 weeks now.
Wonderful.
I've absolutely loved it. They've even the leadership's brought me into the office a few weeks ago and said that we're really pleased with how you're doing, and I'm just itching to tell them. And I did actually in the interview. I did tell them that this is where I've been. I told them a part of this story. I said, I hope to inspire the young people, because really I'm itching to tell people that it's God that can take. The Bible tells us something that is foolish in the world, and I'm not saying I'm just foolish. It means, us as people, sometimes we think that we're clever or intelligent. I'm keen now to show young people that sometimes this academia and big words and this certain intelligent people, sometimes it's just a smokescreen, and anybody can get engaged with something and really do well at it. And whether that be plumbing or electrical work or whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter. You can be intelligent at that thing.
Yes. Oh, that's such a really encouraging story, Malachi. I know how much some of these things mean to you. So just before we finish, it's not necessarily in educational training, but when somebody's struggling to move forwards, finding things hard, what sort of encouragement or advice might you give to them in that sort of situation?
I think just when you're in the midst of that issue, it can feel like you can't get out of it. Feel like you can't move on at all. But God is really in control of moving you forward to positions to shine. I'm really a firm believer that God wants us to shine at something, that He's given us gifts, and sometimes He'll put us through. We'll have to go through things to learn certain lessons, but ultimately, if we follow Him, then He will He'll want our gifts to shine to the world. So me now, I'm 34. And I've spent all that time without this story to tell. This has been a journey. It's only this past 6 months that I can stand here and say it. Not many people get in front of the church at the time when you're going through the struggle and saying, God's taking me there. Well, maybe we should, maybe I should have said, I'm really struggling with this. But God will, if you concentrate on God's voice, then He'll bring you through to shine.
Yeah. So learning to draw on God's help and wisdom and courage when we're in the middle of things, and believing in His goodness and His power, that He's got His plans for us, and He's going to bring us out into a good place. Yeah. Well, that's really encouraging, and I pray everybody listening to this will have been inspired. So thank you for your honesty, and it's really good to see what God has done in you, and I'm sure will continue to do in you and through you. So thanks everybody for listening, and we pray that you've been blessed by this today.